Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Cinemacast podcast right here on YouTube and on Rumble. Make sure you guys hit that like, subscribe, and follow down below if you guys enjoy season 3 so far of the podcast. And today we got a good one. Yes, we got a good one. Maybe not too good of a one, but this one is definitely worth a watch, especially since I've been watching random clips of this on Facebook lately. I don't know why they've been popping up, but this has definitely had me wanting to see this movie, and I ain't watched it until recently, and that is The Founder. And this is a 2016 American biographical drama film directed by John Lee Hancock. I don't think I recognize that name from anywhere. Let me see what movies he's done real quick. So, John Hancock. He's been directing movies since the 90s. I've heard of a few of them. Let's see. There's A Perfect World with Clint Eastwood. Okay, you got Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Is that another one with Clint Eastwood, I think? Yes, it is. My Dog Skip. I remember when that movie came out. I'd never even really seen it. You got The Rookie. That's a Major League Baseball one. He had The Alamo, The Blind Side, Snow White and the Huntsman, Saving Mr. Banks with Tom Hanks, The Highwayman, so just a few little roles here and there that he directed or written. And then there's some uncredited roles that he did too, like Spy Game, Bad Boys 2, G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, and such. So he didn't do a whole lot of movies, but this one is quite interesting, and this is a good one. Now, usually when it comes to movies based on true events, it's something that's a hit or miss, especially when you got to look into the history of something that a movie is based on, just to get a general idea of what you're watching. Because usually with a lot of biopics, Hollywood tends to add just a little bit of spice to it to, give it its dramatic effect or reel the audience in on certain things rather than bore them out with a lot of details about the situation. So this movie stars Michael Keaton as businessman Ray Kroc. The film depicts the story of his creation of the McDonald's fast food restaurant chain, which eventually involved forcing out of the company's founders to take control of the conniving ruthlessness. With conniving ruthlessness. I could have swore Laura Dern. Yeah, Laura Dern also stars in the film as well. Then you got Nick Offerman, John Carroll Lynch, and a few others such as. So, basically, this movie, in a nutshell, is a biopic about Ray Kroc. Back in the 1950s and the 60s, he is the one person who discovered the McDonald's restaurant that started out in California somewhere. And he decided he had an idea to run it as a franchise because he liked the idea of fast food, good food that was cooked in, just a matter of seconds. You could walk up in line, order what you want, and it was boom. It was right there. Perfect service right there. Service with a smile. You can grab your food right after you pay. You can go and eat it anywhere. He liked the idea of that. He got a grand tour of the McDonald's inside by the two founders, and I believe their names were Mac and Dick McDonald, so the McDonald brothers. And this was like the first and only restaurant of its kind. And mind you, apparently Ray Kroc, he was a struggling salesman from San Bernardino, California, and he was struggling to sell many different things. And of course, you start out in the movie, of course, where he's trying to sell a milkshake mixer, and it doesn't turn out too well for him. But then apparently word of mouth got around about his product to Dick and Mac McDonald, and they wanted to buy some of his milkshake machines, which of course he ends up traveling out to their establishment, takes a look at it, eyes it up, and thinks, you know what? You got a good thing going on here. I want to do you all one better. I want to franchise it. I want to make this company money. I want to put this on the map. And basically, that's what this movie pretty much turns out. It's a biopic about Ray Kroc, who turned an idea, who turned a business, a small-time business founded by two brothers in California, who took the idea, who invested money into it by mortgaging his house, putting any kind of dime that he can into this idea to get loans to build his first McDonald's, and then build another, and then another, and another. And then, of course, he goes around and he meets all these different businessmen throughout the movie, and he talks them up, talks a good game, and say, hey, what are you doing for a living, you know? And they tell, oh, I'm a salesman. I sell mugs, or I sell pianos or something. He's like, okay, I got one better for you. Let me make you a manager of this McDonald's that I am building out in this area right here. And then boom, profits take off, service takes off, everything takes off very well. So it's almost like Ray Kroc was he was a franchise genius when it came to basically expanding McDonald's from just this one lone little restaurant out in California and expanding it nationwide the best he can. And that's pretty much what the whole movie is. He expands the idea, he talks to people, he introduces it to them, he opens up franchises, all the while Dick and Mac McDonald, they don't like the idea that their idea is being franchised out there. They feel it's too much pressure on them, it's going to be too much for them to handle. And of course there are some negative feedback between them and Ray Kroc throughout the movie, which I'm pretty sure is what happened in reality. I did not read up too much on the story or the history between the McDonald brothers and Ray Kroc, but apparently there was some tensions between that. He was trying to basically franchise his idea as his own to make money off of it, to build it into something, and it worked. He was a franchise genius, and he ended up being a president and CEO of a couple of places as well while he was doing this. All the while, later on down the road, apparently, he bought out the land that the very first McDonald's was ever set on, bought it out, and of course the McDonald brothers were forced to change the name of their restaurant, being it was sold to Ray Kroc. He bought the name and everything, and he pretty much turned it into his own thing. So yeah, Ray Kroc wasn't the one who invented McDonald's. He was the one to franchise the very first McDonald's into a nationwide franchise, and that's where everything comes into play. So yeah, just watching the movie, and it really plays off very well, and I was pretty interested throughout every bit of this movie to see where it was going and what he was doing. It's like every scene, there was maybe a couple scenes that may have dulled out a little for me, but you got to think, for a biopic, you're going to get a little bit of this and this and that. It's not going to be, it's not going to be heavy. You got to have some spots in there where, there's going to be a little bit of cool down for a movie like this to play itself out. And it does it pretty well. So yeah, you got Michael Keaton, who plays Ray Kroc, and then you got Nick Offerman, who plays Dick McDonald, John Carroll Lynch, who plays Maurice Mac McDonald, Laura Dern plays Ethel, who is Ray's wife, and then of course Kate Nealon, who plays June, who I think she ends up being, she is the bookkeeper for Ray Kroc. Okay, it's Joan Smith that I'm thinking of. Joan Smith ends up being the woman that he ends up marrying toward the end. So there you do see a divorce between Ray and Ethel. You see the divorce, you see him getting married to another woman. There's a lot of things going on. But even in a short amount of time that it was going on, little things were happening here or there. But yeah, this movie it does play out very well. Now I'm gonna go over the critical response for this movie here too, and I think fares very fairly for the movie. So Rotten Tomatoes gave the movie an 80% approval rating with an average of 7 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads that the founder put Michael Keaton's magnetic performance at the center of a smart, satisfying biopic that traces the rise of one of America's most influential businessmen and the birth of one of its most far-reaching industries. I will say that Michael Keaton, when you put Michael when you put Michael Keaton into a role, he is dynamite. He is dynamite no matter what. Yes, there were a lot of roles that he was in that were kind of downplayed a little bit. I mean, this is Batman. This is the Batman. He's had a lot of roles before Batman. He's had a lot of roles since Batman. He was in one of the newer Spider-Man movies. But anything that you put Michael Keaton in, it's going to be gold or silver in a sense. I mean, he puts his all into it. He is a very, very talented actor. He does have that very magnetic and energetic charisma when it comes to a movie like this. When you see him in a role like this, the way he plays everything out, and he is just bam, 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 very quick-witted and everything, and it's like this role was made for him, especially when you look up archive footage of the real Ray Kroc, and it's like, oh my god, I think he must have studied this guy, like he's almost like doing it scene for scene, like the way the real Ray Kroc does. And Michael Keaton, he just really knocks these things out of the park. He's an electrified actor. I enjoy him in a lot of roles, whether they're very dramatic, action oriented, comedy based, whatever. He is a very solid actor, especially for him being the age that he is and all that thing. So let's see. On Metacritic, the film holds a weighted average of 66 out of 100 based on 47 critics, indicating that generally favorable reviews. And then we go to Rolling Stones. Peter Travers gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, stating that director Hancock and screenwriter Siegel did strive hard and mostly succeeded at keeping Hollywood's sentiment out of the storytelling. Set more than half a century ago, The Founder proves to be a movie for a divisive here and now. Step right up, you might just learn something. And that is true too. I think, with the movie like this, you keep Hollywood out of it. Like they say, keeping Hollywood the sentiment out of it. This movie is focused on storytelling. That's basically all this is. This is not your typical Hollywood dramatic movie. It's not a drama, it's not an action or whatever. This is a movie story. This is storytelling. This is a biopic. This is a movie that is telling the story of one man who turned a restaurant into a franchise that became a nationwide sensation, and now pretty much on every corner, wherever you live, within a 3-mile radius, you will see 10 different McDonald's pop up on every fucking corner. That's basically what that is. Let's see. Roger Ebert's Matt Zoller cites. Oh, I hate to see this because, anything out of Roger Ebert, I can't stand his criticism. He criticizes movies too harshly, even when they don't need it or don't deserve it. So Matt Zoller Seitz gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, saying that despite the film over-relying on exposition and failing to skillfully incorporate Ray Kroc's personal life into the narrative, I'd be lying if I said I haven't thought of The Founder consistently since seeing it. It's an ad that becomes a warning before circling around and becoming another darker kind of advertisement, and one that is most intriguing and surprising things about The Founder is that, in the end, it seems vaguely ashamed of itself for letting this happen. And that is pretty harsh, coming from Roger Ebert's, RogerEbert.com. But yeah, like I said, it says this is basically a big old advertisement for McDonald's. You know, McDonald's hamburgers and milkshakes and such, and like, okay, and this is just a story about how McDonald's was franchised. It's not about how McDonald's was founded, even though there is a scene in there where the McDonald brothers explain, oh, this is how we founded it, this is how we started it. You know, we did this, we did that, da 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 da. And now here we are, and now you got a guy that's interested in taking this restaurant and franchising it, making it a nationwide sensation to where just about everywhere over across the nation can experience the, you know, just the service and the food and the quality with what started out in this little town back in the 1940s and the 1950s. And then of course you fast forward to today. What do you get? You get terrible service wherever you go. You get service that fucks your order up every which way from Sunday. You got service that sits there and complain. They just flat out lies to you and says, "Oh, our milkshake machine or our ice cream machines are broken. They're not working today." You know, anything of that nature. So whatever Ray Kroc had founded, well, not founded, but whatever he franchised back in the 50s on up, it's not what we have today. Today we got thousands upon thousands of McDonald's throughout the nation and throughout the fucking world, and yet it's hard to find a good McDonald's that has the type of quality that they have in the movie. That's probably how it started out way back when. You know, it's like, oh, you pay 15 cents for a burger. Oh, here you go. Enjoy your meal. But instead today, you pull into a drive-thru, you order, you hope somebody's on the other end on the microphone listening and taking your order down, and then you pull up to the window to pay, and then you pull up to the next window, and you got some idiot saying, oh, pull up to the next window, we'll get your food. I was like, what? I can't get my food right here? What kind of fucking service is this? So yeah, you got a ton of McDonald's out there right now where the service is absolutely terrible. This is not the fucking vision that Ray Kroc envisioned back in the 50s. This is not what the McDonald's brothers envisioned or started out with. It just de-evolved. I don't even say it evolved. It just de-evolved into something that was expressively terrible. And I will say, like, a movie like this kind of brings you back around to how this franchise, this restaurant, first started out. McDonald's was not always like this. To witness the story firsthand, maybe not fully 100% factual unless you read up on it, but yeah, this is like the go-to for how a franchise was started, what started McDonald's, what driven McDonald's to be franchised, and turn it into a nationwide sensation. And I feel like this movie, it does very well with its storytelling process. And I think the script was very well put together with a lot of factual details. Michael Keaton, he does have that, as they say, that magnetic performance, which is at the center of the smart, satisfying biopic. He does have an electrifying performance in this movie. It pays off very well. It does play off very well. And I will say, if you haven't seen this movie yet, give it a try. You know, just give it a try. If you're not into biopics, this will probably be one of those that I don't know if it'll get you into watching them or what, but you know, this is the story of a risk taker, rule breaker, game changer, and it's a very interesting story. Even if you don't want to read up on the Golden Arches and who Ray Kroc is, at least this movie will give you a summed down offering of around 2 hours to show you what started it all. So what do I give The Founder as a rating? I definitely would give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I was satisfied with watching this movie. Michael Keaton, I'm never disappointed in his acting. He's always top notch with whatever role he is in. Not just because he's the Batman. He is the most popular, well-known Batman out there, aside from Christian Bale or George Clooney or any of those other wannabes. You know, even though rest in peace to Val Kilmer, of course. But yeah, I will say, Michael Keaton, he does a very amazing job with portraying Ray Kroc in this film, and I think you guys will. I think you guys will be entertained. I think you guys will enjoy watching this movie if you guys give it a try. So, what do you guys think about this movie? Did you see this movie yet? What do you guys think about it? Let me know down in the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are about The Founder. And that does it for today's episode of the Cinemacast podcast, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for listening. Be sure you leave a like, subscribe, and follow down below if you have yet to do so. Thank you for joining me for today's feature, which is The Founder, starring Michael Keaton. And as always, guys, until next time, catch you right back here to cinema.